Good evening, my followers of fear, and welcome to another reading from Hannah and Other Stories. I trust you're doing well this evening. Have everything you want and need? For one young lady, she's about to find out that when you take things you only think you need, it can sometimes have dangerous consequences. Tonight's story comes from The Autopsy Kid and Dr. Sarah. One of the stories that had to go through a lot of editing and rewriting to make it, well, ready for publishing. But I think in the end it worked out. And, fun fact, takes place in Paris, France. I always liked that about the story. That was such a beautiful city when I visited back in 2014. So I had fun sending a horror story there. And forgive me, but I can not do a French accent that well, so I will just skip it. But enough talk. Let us begin. The Autopsy Kid and Dr. Sarah. The Paris Toy and Games Expo was awash with people and noise, which made what Sarah had to do that much easier and that much more difficult. Standing by the phalanx of Brax's booth, Sarah's eyes moved over the figurines set up on the table, taking in their shiny outfits and their perfect plastic faces and hair. The more she looked at the figurines in their boxes, from the hit TV show, the boxes screamed at her in French, limited edition, certificate of authenticity inside. As sure as she was, she had to have one. Specifically, she had to have the Juniper figurine, resplendent in a white and green battle uniform, and she knew how to take it without anyone noticing. After all, Paris was home to some of the best pickpockets and street thieves in the world, and she'd been living there since she was 6. She knew she could take it. Sarah waited until the booth's vendors were distracted by 2 other collectors. Then she quickly lifted Juniper's box off the stack before dropping down as if to tie her shoes. Quickly she glanced up. The vendors' backs were still to her. Heart pounding, she ducked under the table where a loose tablecloth could hide her. Nervously swaying now, she opened the box and started ripping off the plastic stickers and undoing twist ties. In a matter of 2 minutes, she had the figurine out of its box. In the dark underside of the table, Sarah took a moment to admire her Juniper figurine before stuffing it under her sweatshirt. Then she slipped it and the certificate of authentication underneath her camisole, where it lay safely against her belly. She then flattened the box and slipped that into the back of her sweatshirt. Finally, she stuffed the twist ties into her pocket and glanced under the edge of the tablecloth. To her consternation, she saw one of the vendors was standing right in front of her, the opaque cloth the only thing dividing her from his legs. Above her head, she could hear him asking his partner in French if they were missing a figurine. Merde, she thought. She'd been hoping the vendors would still be distracted. If one of them looked under the table, they would find her, and if that happened, not only would she not get the figurine, but she'd probably be arrested too, which would probably get her kicked out of her lycée and ruin any chance she had of getting into university, in France or elsewhere. Not to mention the trouble she'd get into with her mother, whom she still lived with. And all for a figurine that cost 150 euros. Come on, she prayed. Somebody help me out here. The vendor's fingers curled around the edge of the tablecloth to lift it up. From far away came a crash, followed by shouting. The vendor's hand withdrew, and he stood asking their partner what the hell was going on. Glancing under the gaps, Sarah saw everyone's feet were pointed in another direction, meaning they were all distracted. Quickly, she slipped out from under the table and sped along the maze of booths towards the exit. Halfway there, she glanced back. No one was chasing her. Instead, the vendors and guests were watching a pair of security guards carry off a man who was protesting loudly in French. Not what it looks like. I've been framed. I don't even like that company. Why would I steal from them? Sucks to be you, dude, she thought, ignoring that she could have been the one security was taking away if things had gone differently. Turning back to where she was going, Sarah slipped through the crowd and out of the convention hall. She stepped into the Paris sunlight. She dumped the box and twist ties into a trash can beside the door. Then she kept walking at a brisk pace until she reached a small corner cafe several blocks away. Sitting down at one of the patio tables, she pulled the figurine out of her sweatshirt to admire it. Juniper smiled confidently up at her, her crisp plastic uniform gleaming in the sunlight. It was so awesome, Sarah couldn't help but smile back. Nice job back there, dude. Sarah yelped and stuffed Juniper back in under her camisole. She twisted in her seat to see a young man around the same age as her in a black tee and sunglasses, the latter of which he pushed into his frosted hair tips to reveal a pair of gray eyes. Chill out, bro, said the guy, grinning at her. I'm not going to turn you in. Sarah's eyes narrowed in suspicion. While the guy's smile was jovial and friendly, it didn't extend to his eyes. In fact, his eyes had a weird, lifeless quality she didn't like, as if they were made of glass instead of flesh and human emotions. I'm not your bro, she replied curtly, and I didn't do anything that I should be turned in for. Oh, you're a girl? Said the guy. Sorry about that. It's fine. Sarah was used to it. She kept her hair short like a boy's, and the sweatshirt she wore was baggy, which made her look androgynous while also providing a safe place to hide Juniper. Anyway, you did a great job back there, the guy continued. Of course, I'd help by making that guy out to be a thief, but still, great job. The loser in the booth had been busy for 1 minute longer, you would have gotten out scot-free. You saw all that? Thought I was being discreet, and he framed the dude the guards were dragging off? Sarah cleared her throat. I don't know what you mean. Now can you please leave me alone? Okay, Sarah, he said, turning and walking off. I'll see you later. Sarah watched him go until he turned a corner and disappeared. She sighed with relief, releasing a tension she hadn't known she was holding. That guy freaked her out. It wasn't only that he saw her stealing Juniper, or that his eyes were creepy. It was that he'd framed the man the security guard had dragged off for stealing and had talked about it like it was inconsequential. Did he expect me to be grateful or something? She waited a few minutes longer before getting up and heading in the direction of home. As she walked, she realized something. That guy had known her name, but how was that possible? She'd never met him before and hadn't given her name. She wasn't wearing a name tag or anything. Uneasy, Sarah hurried her pace. She did not slow down until she was already in the depths of the metro, waiting for the next train home. Well, that was something. And let me tell you, things are only going to get worse for Sarah. Want to know how? Well, Hannah and Other Stories releases in only a few weeks on September 23rd. If you would like to, you can pre-order a copy using any of the links in the description or in the pinned comment. I hope you'll check it out, and if you do, I hope you leave a review letting me know what you thought. That's all for now, my followers of fear. Until next time, good night and pleasant nightmares.